Supervisors meeting into order. Can we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Eternal and all-wise God, we thank you for the opportunity to be able to serve. We pray for your guidance on this evening, that we might honor you in every decision that's made. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. This time we'll be setting the agenda. Y'all had a chance to look over the agenda. Any additions, subtractions?
Mr. Chair, the sheriff had asked earlier in the day if we could amend the agenda to add 2 items. He wants to speak to a grant that he can receive and also security cameras in the courthouse.
Okay. Do we have a motion to amend the agenda? This calls for a roll call vote.
I move to amend the agenda to accommodate the sheriff.
Second? Second. Any questions? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter? Aye. Mr. Hibbs? Aye. Mr. Wolfskill?
Yes.
Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Mr. Hinkle, for the record, could you please state your location?
I'm at 1111 Irvin Garish Highway, Okeechobee, Virginia, Okeechobee, North Carolina, 27960.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkle. So we'll change it to item number 5A. Next, we have the citizen public comment period. This time is provided by the board to allow citizens the opportunity to address the board on issues of importance to the citizen. No individual citizen shall be permitted to address the board for more than 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who signed up? You come forward, please. Please state your name, your address.
I'm Helen Adams. I live on Turkey Road here in Appomattox. I grew up in Oakville, and I still have property in Oakville. And anyway, I was wanted to speak on the property that you all are considering selling there at Piney Mountain Road and Oakville Road. Okay. I wrote notes because I wouldn't forget, and I'm too nervous to remember what I'm supposed to say. So anyway, if there's a business that's such as a dollar store that locates there, it will be increased traffic. You already have to be careful when pulling out at the intersection. There's a curve. And I attend church there just below. And even when leaving church, the curve is to my left. And I have to be careful and quick and do a double take. A couple of times as I've started pulling out, somebody comes flying around the curve. It's a 45-mile speed limit, and very few adhere to that. Let's see. I just had a couple of questions that to be addressed. And it says, does the county really need to sell this property? Is there already a business wanting to purchase it? Does the county really need the money for the sale of this property? And has the county considered where our polling place would be after the sale takes place? And I just want to add an additional note to this. The property was sold to the county for $1 in 1909 by Mr. and Mrs. Owen for a high school to be built in Oakville in that spot. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else? So we'll close the citizen public comment period. At this time, we're going to open up our public hearings. First one, amendment to comprehensive plan Pamplin Main Street Improvement Project. A duly advertised public hearing has been scheduled to receive comments on amendment to the 2021 Appomattox County Comprehensive Plan. The Pamplin City Town Council has requested an amendment to the comprehensive plan to add the Pamplin Main Street Improvement Project to the transportation element. The comprehensive plan is used jointly by both localities as its guide for future development. Adding this project to the comprehensive plan will enhance funding opportunities for the town of Pamplin City. At the April regular meeting of the Planning Commission, the Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of this amendment to the comprehensive plan. Is there anyone here today to speak concerning this hearing?
I can speak and answer any questions. I didn't have anything specifically prepared for it. But if you had any questions, I can answer them.
So board members, are there any questions? Do we have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second? Any questions? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Hibbs? Mr. Wolfskill? Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
I also vote aye, so the motion carries. Second public hearing, VDOT Secondary Six-Year Plan, fiscal year 2025 through 2030. A duly advertised joint public hearing has been scheduled to receive comments in accordance with the Code of Virginia, Section 33.170.01. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive comments on the proposed secondary six-year plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2030, and on the secondary system construction budget for fiscal year 2025. All projects in the secondary six-year plan that are eligible for federal funding will be included in the statewide Transportation Improvement Program, STIP, which documents how Virginia will obligate federal transportation funds. Is anyone here to speak concerning the VDOT secondary six-year plan? Seeing none, we have a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Any questions? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Hibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfskill? Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
I also vote aye. The motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, was the motion to not only close the public hearing, but to adopt the six-year plan?
I'm sorry.
Or was it just to close the public hearing?
Close it and then adopt it.
Close it,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
One
Thank you.
comment, there was an email that was circulated from Mr. Hinkle. I don't know if he would like to speak to it about a call he received.
Mr. Hinkle, would you like to address?
It was Depot Lane.
Email right away, is this regarding the VDOT plan, or?
Yes.
I believe that road was in your district, Mr. Reverend Jones.
Yes.
So let me open my email and see.
I guess the question would be presented to Mr. Brown.
That was from Connie Walton of 763 Depot Lane, that wanted to know if they could have the rest of their, oh, that isn't my district, I'm sorry, rest of that lane blacktop. I guess that road is only partially blacktop, and they would like to get it on the plan to get the rest of it blacktop. I would move to add Depot Lane onto the VDOT plan for blacktopping and whatever priority would fall in.
So you present that as a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion?
Is it, one question, Mr. Chairman. That this is located off of 26?
No, this is located off of, it's the loop road on Route 460, right near Scott Springs that runs back along, it's at the railroad tracks, it runs east, back towards, comes up near Cedar Line.
Thank you. I was on the wrong side of the
And
county.
just, yeah, it's a loop road. Yeah, part of it's paved and part of it's not. It's right, I think it's Route 674. Now, there's two courses here, you know. The 6-year plan as advertised, you know, it's fully, you know, there's no funding to add this project in the 6-year plan. I think what Ms. Walton was asking, because she asked me about it, this project road needs to be added to this unpaved road priority list, where the Board of Supervisors, when we need to pull additional roads to go in future revisions, we pull it off of this list right here. And I think that's probably what you'd like to do.
So does that require?
I think he can just put, you can. add
Reverend
it on the
Jones?
list.
We can add it to this list. This is, you know, this is not part of the 6-year plan. This is just a holding list for roads that the board has considered and would like to go into the formal 6-year plan when it's revised and approved.
Thank you. Chairman Hinkle?
Yeah, that's, in reality, what I meant was to get it added to that list that
Yes, sir.
talking about.
Yes, sir, thank you. So now we're ready for a roll call vote on the VDOT secondary 6-year plan to adopt it. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion that we adopt the Depot Road.
Is there a second? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Hibbs? Mr. Wolfskill? Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion carried. So, public hearing number 3, RZ 240193, Mallory L. Bryant / Durrell W. Bryant. A duly advertised public hearing has been scheduled to receive comments on the rezoning petition of Mallory L. Bryant, property owner, and Durrell W. Bryant, applicant/agent. The petitioner requests to rezone 2 parcels located on Minneball Lane in the Vera community from R1 low-density residential zoning district to A1 agricultural zoning district. This parcel, the parcels are identified as tax map identification number 41-4-12 and 41-4-13, and total 2.36 acres. It is, at its April regular meeting, the Planning Commission voted 5-2, Almond and Trent dissenting, to recommend approval of the rezoning petition. Is anyone here to speak concerning the zoning?
My name is Michaela Bryan. I currently reside at 897 Lee Grant Avenue. Thank you for allowing me to represent myself and my family in the decision to rezone our land from R1 to A1. In the last meeting held, Mr. Allman, a board member, expressed his concerns and approval of this rezone request because the last 2 times he voted yes, a home was not placed on the land or the land was not utilized as it said it would be. I ask that you do not base your decision on any previous experience. I don't think it's fair to my family and I that any judgment is from a failed rezone plan without full consideration of what we want to utilize our land for. Another board member voted no to the rezone request, I believe Ms. Trent, with no real reason why and no input was given during the previous discussion by her. I would like more reasoning today if any final vote is still no, so that my family and I can fully consider or fully understand any concerns. This land was originally purchased by my parents so that either or both of their daughters could place a home on the land, whether stick-built, modular, or manufactured. Then rezoning happened, which put limitations on the type of structure that could be placed on the land. While it took time for me to determine where I want to settle down, I have come to the conclusion that this land is my home, my roots, and my childhood, and I want my children to experience the same peace I felt growing up. The reason that I bring up the word peace is because on March 5th, 2024, the home that my 2 children and I currently reside in, excuse me, was invaded, and I was woken up to a man standing over top of me while I was sleeping. I'm sorry. So I'm sure you can understand how the word peace and moving, I'm sure you can understand how the peace I had in my current home was broken and shattered, which also plays a big factor in my decision to relocate, as I'm sure you can see why. Another concern was what this land will look like 10, 20, 30 years from now. Within the next year, I plan to place a home on the land, and 10, 20, 30 years from now, I would love to pass down this land and these homes to my 2 children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Anyone else here to speak? Please state your name and your.
Connie Bryant,
Your address.
435 Mini Ball Lane, Appomattox. I'm Michaela's mother, and way back when she was not even born, we purchased the land, in hopes that when we do have children, they could move beside us one day. And then rezoning happened, and at that time, the land was used for agriculture. Currently, today, it's still used for agriculture. We have goats up the road, that's a farm. Across the street, we have a pony, ducks and chickens running around. Just in that middle section that we live in is residential, but all around us is agriculture. There's manufactured homes, single, double wide, and there's still manufactured homes being put down in Vera. So I just consider you saying yes to my daughter, putting a manufactured home beside us so that when we're elderly and she can help take care of us one day and, our grandkids can live beside us as well. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Anyone else here to speak? This time we close this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple questions for Mr. Rourke in regards to this subject.
Yes,
You
sir.
had 2 planning commission members. Did they vote against it, or was they dissented?
They voted against it. And Ms. Bryant was correct. Ms. Trent did not give any reason, so I couldn't articulate what her reason was. Mr. Allman voted against it strictly because of some past experiences he's had with various rezonings going from R1 to A1, and the list of permitted uses and conditional uses in A1, not necessarily against this petition in this place, but more so against the land use of going from R1 to A1. That was kind of his reasoning.
Well,
But it was a 5-2 vote, so
yeah,
to recommend approval of it.
it just escapes me, and I've asked this question before and been told the answer, but I just cannot remember. On this subject, somebody dissented. They don't need to state their reason.
No, they don't have to.
Okay,
Anything else?
thank you.
Mr. Rourke, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rourke, are some of the, so R1 does not allow for a mobile home or manufactured home?
Correct.
And some of these homes that are in R1 are mobile homes and manufactured?
Yes. As you know, you've been on the board long enough to know that our zoning changes all over the place, and there's uses that have been there, they've been grandfathered in, so to speak. And this is one of those areas. This is an area that's very diverse. It has stick-built houses, it has single wides, it has double wides. Why this particular loop along Minneball Lane is R1, I could not tell you, but it goes back to the original zoning of the county back in 1988. And it's a very rural agricultural area. There's pasture land across the road, and it's agricultural land across on the other side across 24. So there's agricultural land all around it. It's just one of those anomalies in our zoning map.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just so people don't think I'm playing Pac-Man, that's what I'm looking at, is the zoning map up here on my iPad. So I can see what you're saying, that there's a bit of an island there in the sea of agriculture. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rourke. So at this time, we'll close this public hearing, and is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfskill? Yes. Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion is carried. Okay, public hearing number 4, proposed FY 2025 budget. A duly advertised public hearing has been scheduled to receive comment on the proposed FY 2025 county/school budget in the amount of $53,991,082. Is there anyone here to speak concerning this public hearing?
Good evening. I am Jason Tibbs, Director of Finance and Human Resources for Appomattox County Public Schools. I come to you this evening on behalf of Dr. Bennett, who is at our commencement services right now as we speak, and Appomattox County Public Schools, requesting additional consideration and exploration of full funding of Appomattox County Public Schools for the fiscal year 2025 budget. The advertised budget appropriation for the school division results in a proposed deficit of $269,294 based on the March 9th, 2024 Virginia Department of Education calculation tool. As shared in a memo dated May 10th, 2024 to the Board of Supervisors and County Administrator for the FY24 budget this current year, in order to participate in all state programs and receive the state share, ACPS agreed to a one-time reappropriation of carryover funds to the current fiscal year in lieu of the full amount of the carryover funds going into the Capital Improvement Fund, as agreed upon by both boards in the 2019 Memorandum of Understanding. It is our understanding that a suggestion was discussed regarding the use of carryover funds to the next fiscal year, as was done for this current fiscal year. I come to you this evening requesting the exercise of the CIP MOU as intended when adopted in 2019, allowing all carryover funds being appropriated into the school's CIP account. Over the past several years, the large majority of this money has been used to supplement the Appomattox County High School remodel project, affording the school division the ability to replace the roof on older sections of the building, replace the parking lots, additional HVAC work at Appomattox Elementary, Appomattox Primary, and Appomattox Middle, as well as this year replacing and refurbishing some of the athletic facilities. The school division would like to continue to add to the CIP fund to assist in completing the ACHS project, specifically replacement of the roof over the gymnasium, auditorium, concourse, gym lobby, and porches, as well as a final pavement project on the rear parking lot and back access of the school. We are requesting, prior to approval of the FY25 budget for Appomattox County, that the county administrator and the Board of Supervisors members look at alternative options to fully funding Appomattox County Public Schools to full local share of $7,556,202. This will allow ACPS to continue to participate in all state programs receiving the full state funding share for each program. Any reduction in local appropriation relative to the local share will result in a great deficit, as participation in state programs is all or nothing. In other words, a $269,294 shortfall in local funds will result in a reduction of $815,666 in state funds due to non-participation in two state programs. Thank you for your continued support of Appomattox County Public Schools and your commitment to providing a strong educational system for this community.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbs.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak this public hearing? Comments from the board before we close?
Well, I guess, Mr. Chairman, that we have discussed this, and as of right now, I'm in favor of it.
Anybody else comments? So, Mr. Tibbs, I have a question. So, as far as the carryover funds, are there enough funds in the CIP to cover the 269, 294?
Currently, the balance of the CIP, yes. However, a fair amount of those funds have been earmarked for the projects that we are doing over the summer, i.e. those athletic facility improvements, et cetera. What the suggestion would be to utilize carryover funds from this fiscal year that we won't know a definitive number until the audit is done for the county, which would be later in the fall, maybe early January. Last year, they got it to us very early, which was nice. The previous year, they didn't get it to us until January. The piece of the puzzle that I would like to caution everyone is that ESSER funds do fall off September 30th. And so we, as a school division, through fiscal responsibility and through watching our dollars and cents and where we're spending them, we will have to really seriously look at our spending moving forward because those federal funds will no longer be there. And so that has also assisted us with having additional carryover funds from year to year for the past several years. But moving forward, that will not be the case. The purse strings will have to be tightened down tremendously.
So I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I think what you're saying is you think that there would be enough money in the carryover, not from this year, but next year, from this
current year, my initial calculations do provide that there will be funds there. However, as I said, and as we're asking, we would like to put those directly into CIP to help us finish out this high school project because we did get that $4.5 million school construction grant that we're working through, and we were able to do a lot more than was originally intended as part of that PPEA, and the CIP money is assisting us with completing that. So our goal is to, once we're done with that project, to have the high school be practically brand new. New roofs all over the building, everything.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say one other thing. That fund, I was on the board when we established that fund, that CIP. And when it was established, it was to be adhered to by the school. The school was going to take that money and do whatever is needed to provide sufficient and efficient ways and means to operate. So, like I said, I'm in favor of this. And I think I'd hate to see us break break its tragedy here.
One thing that would concern me is $269,000, $269,000, and we stand to lose $815,000. That's a big loss to the county and to our youth and to our community to lose that amount of money for $269,000 that we need to appropriate to the schools for them to receive this extra funding. Any other comments? Yes. Yes, Ms. Adams has a presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, gentlemen, what I wanted to present to you this evening is our proposed FY25 budget. We've not had the opportunity to make a public presentation, so I just kind of wanted to tell you how our funds are being spent, and for some reason it's racing. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so where does that money come from? Well, our current advertised budget is $53,999,082. And we get our local tax dollars are 39.1% of that total. The Commonwealth of Virginia state funds are 55.6%, federal government's 2.5%, and other sources is 2.8%. So how are we spending our money? Sometimes it's a difficult venture for us to try to figure that out. But anyway, we're good this year. We had a lot of challenges, and I don't know why this is running, but anyway. So we had a lot of budget challenges this year. A health insurance increase by 10%. We are hopefully providing the 3% cost of living raise to all employees. Our state requirement, the local matches, that changes every year to various agencies, and that we're required by law to meet those mandates. This year, we're performing the real estate reassessment, and that's done every 6 years. That's about $300,000 in the budget. We have increased contractual cost, and that includes software support, professional services, maintenance contracts, and various department contracts. Also, we just have inflation, office supplies, exterminating utilities, gas for vehicles, everything. The prices are being increased. We've had some departmental requests for furniture and equipment, and also we have additional new employee positions. We have increased donations to the fire department and rescue squad, and also our regional jail contribution increased by 5%. Okay, in our proposed budget, I have a breakdown between the county, the school, and social services. So the county's portion of that $53 million is 34.5%. The school's portion is 60.5%, and social services is 5%. And then I have it broken down by state, local, and other in those categories. So to tell you how the county operating budget is $18,715,293. This does not include social services, and it does not include the school budget. So I have broken it down in your report that you can look at by each department and how much we spend in each department. And as a summary of those pages, public safety, our county budget spends 31.1%. Debt service is 17.5%. The general finance and administration is 14.1%. Public works is 11.8%. The CSA program is 9.5%. Judicial administration is 7.5%. Parks and Rec is 3%. Capital projects 2%. 1.7% is community development. Health and welfare is 1.1%. And public utilities is 0.8%. So then we have our county carry forward funds that we're requesting $2,738,659, and that's federal funding from the American Recovery Plan Act that would just be requested as a carry forward from FY '24 to FY '25. And then we've got the breakdown of our school operating budget. It's $32,607,081, which is 61.4%. Our local match of local tax dollars is 34.3%. So those are the actual local dollars that's put into it. We do have additional funds that are going toward school services, and that's not included in the school operating budget, but is included in the county operating budget. And that's $235,000 plus for the school resource officers. You fund for those positions. The school debt is 1.482333. And then we have a private day education that's through the CSA program. That's approximately $200,000 every year that's paid toward children with special services. The school also is requesting $4,530,000, 907, and they're in the advertised budget for the capital improvement monies, the textbook funds, the school construction assistant program, and the food nutrition funds. I'm not sure if somehow we can reach this table, but it would be beneficial if we could. If it's got a mind of its own.
It's also sort of timer. If you just want to kind of like, just stop me when we're at the place.
Okay, all right, stop at 224 tax levies. And the reason that says 24 is because we tax on the calendar year, not the FY. And this just shows our current tax rates that you will be adopting on the 29th with the budget. We didn't make any changes to that. There is one thing I would like for you to notate on the personal property. There's a vehicle value of $3, and there's also machinery, tools, and of $335. Okay, we had a one-time exemption post-COVID that we could value the vehicles differently because of the increase in values. We could tax them differently at $3. So next year, you're going to have to make the difficult decision. Either you're going to increase the other personal property, which are the vehicles, or you're going to decrease the machinery and tools. So somehow we've got to balance that without a loss in our budget. The county does also offer other tax deductions from our collections. It's about $309,000 this year in land use exemption. We have the real estate abatements, about $8,000. And then we offer the relief for elderly disabled veterans, $85,000. So on the next chart, what I put together here is, this is for the vehicle rates. This is the $3. And it just shows if you raise the tax 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, what that looked like and how much revenue it's going to generate for the county. And then I have a chart of the personal property values, and if you decrease from $335 toward $3, it shows what that decreased amount will be. So that's something that you can be thinking about in the next few months, so that we'll have to make that difficult decision whether to increase or decrease and restore that value back to either $335 or bring down the other personal property rates. And, you know, I'm happy to say to this evening that we presented to you a balanced budget, and you've heard some comments. So on the 29th, you'll be deciding what you would like to do, if you'd like to make any changes in the proposed budget for adoption. Any questions?
Yes, Ms. Adams, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What would be some of the possibilities in terms of trying to make up that $269,000? Would it have to come from reserves, or could CIP be the safety net?
The only thing that if you want county funds would be to take it out of the reserve or raise taxes. They're usually your two choices. There's not any extra money in the proposed budget. And like I think Dr. Tibbs, we had talked about, if you wanted to use some of that local money as local match, it doesn't say it has to be newly appropriated funds. It just says local match in order to receive those funds at 100%. Any other questions? That was a quick overview.
Thank you. So this time we'll close this public hearing, and we will not be voting on the budget tonight. Our next public hearing is the sale of property. Item number 5, a duly advertised public hearing has been scheduled in accordance with the Code of Virginia, Section 15.2-1800B. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive comments on the proposed sale of property located at the intersection of Oakville Road and Panny Mountain Road. The parcel is identified as tax map identification number 27A83. I think someone has already spoken. Is anybody else here to speak tonight?
I'm here for it, but she's covered.
Okay.
I live there too, the road a little ways, and there's a bad intersection. I don't know what their plans are for it, but it's bad.
Well, I would like to say that, since I've been in Appomattox, I know over my 40 years here, a young man died in that curve that I was very close to. And I don't know whether it was because he was speeding, lost control, but it is a bad curve there. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. So I do agree with you on that.
The porch on that house in the curve
Mm-hmm.
was run down well, run down's not the right word. It was run over by vehicles twice when I was younger. And same guy did it both times.
And I think it's a speed issue there, and it's a very dangerous curve.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Johnny, I don't want to put you on the spot. I was hoping Mr. Brown would stick around. So if you don't feel like you can answer these questions, then that's fine. As far as, since you're the zoning officer and what you know of VDOT's practices with siting locations and the considerations that they make and improvements, I know that they have some very specific formulas and calculations that they do
Yes.
to evaluate these types of things with line of sight for turning and that sort of stuff. So we have seen projects not go through because of issues like this over the course of
Yes.
the time that you've been here. So can you speak to anything about that process, just to maybe alleviate or allay any concerns there?
Well, there is a distance that's based on the site distance and the speed of the road that any proposed, say it's a commercial entrance, that would have to be a certain distance away from any kind of intersection or whatnot. In a case like this, with 26 being the primary road and there being a secondary road on the side, under today's rules of VDOT, they would encourage any potential development of that property to have its entrance on the secondary road, not on the primary road. So that would potentially alleviate any conflict points out where the curve is that we're talking about. So that would be something that the VDOT engineers and any development engineers would work through, and they would be highly encouraged to be on the secondary road instead of the primary road with their access points.
Let me see if I can follow this, Mr. Chairman. If you turn then, make the entrance and exit off of 608,
Yes.
then that would free up anything on 26.
Yeah, more than likely would not, they would more than likely, with that lot, they would more than likely have to seek an exception from central office in Richmond to have, just due to the width and the distance from the intersection. So I would think, just my experience with these projects, you were talking about access being off of the secondary road, and then it's going to be pushed as far away from that intersection as possible with whatever size the lot is. So in this case, I think it's a couple hundred or so feet. It's about, I guess, about 200 feet, maybe from the intersection to the end of the parcel. So if there's any type of commercial access, it would be pushed as far east of the intersection as it could be.
So I guess the only issue would be coming around that curve and people waiting to turn onto 608.
Yeah, if you were heading south,
If you head
you would have to make a left. So there would be a stopping condition where they would have to stop for opposing traffic and make a left, and then make a left onto the property.
Just like it is now.
Just like it is now, yeah, except where the old entrance for the school is kind of, sort of in the middle. I would imagine as VDOT did their studies, they would recommend pushing it further towards the Ruleton building.
So has there been any issues you know of where the store is located? Because the stores in that general area is a little,
No, I do remember folks running into that, the front porch. I do remember that. But as far as the store, the commercial stuff right there, haven't had any issues that I'm aware of.
okay, thank you.
I don't recall any crash data related to the commercial use in that area.
Has there been any issues when it came to voting there, as far as, I know that's a lot of traffic, it's just kind of like one
Not-
day, but,
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it is voting, the Ruleton building is our voting precinct and
yeah.
fairly busy on those days, but I
Yes.
don't recall hearing of any accidents or any traffic issues with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot there. Well, he's not VDOT, so.
I know, and he just left a minute ago.
Yeah.
Are there any more comments? I do have a question. Would you come up, please? Because I do have a question I'd like to ask you. You just state your name and address, please.
Iris Woody, 1430 Piney Mountain Road.
Yep, what I would like to ask you, what would make you feel more comfortable? I mean, other than not having it there, but what would make you feel more comfortable or more safe in that area?
I really don't know how you could go about moving major roads. I mean, it's no other way to get in and out of there other than 26 or 608. And I go to the church there right down the road. And this is my sister. And she lives uptown. I live on Piney Mountain Road. So when we leave church, we have an agreement that she's going to leave first, and then I'm going to follow, because if I have to stop in 26 to turn on Piney Mountain Road, she's sitting in that curve, and what do? You just going to get run over. And then this log trucks. My husband was mowing the grass at the church when a log truck turned over there in that curve, and the whole load of logs ended up in the churchyard. So and matter of fact, it's been another wreck there recently because the skid marks are in the road. They ran out in the curve and then overcorrected and went over in Hayfield. So it's just, I don't know what the solution would be to it, but I don't know whether they have anybody interested in it, and do they really need the money, or where are they going to vote? I guess I'm done.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Rourke, can I put you on the spot one more time? Yeah. So is it any way to slow that, I know it's probably a VDOT question, but is it a way that, like those flashing lights could alert people?
And And they could look at that, and I know we've had situations where other projects in other parts of the county on primary roads, where that's kind of one of the first mechanisms is flashing lights and they go from signage to flashing lights to other things that will help slow the traffic through there. But they would have to look at all that in their engineering design.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, also, the board may want to notate, this is not the Rueton Club property, so it would not impact voting.
Any more discussion? Well, we'll close this public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, due to the safety concerns that's been expressed here, it may be in our best interest that VDOT give us somewhat of a proposal on safety there.
It wouldn't, that would fall under development. If there were development, then it would be a required study.
Requires study by the owner.
We're deciding,
Yes, yes, we wouldn't
we're
pay for
deciding
that.
whether to sell the property or not.
That's all we need to do is.
Well, public hearing is closed. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Okay,
I'll move that we adopt the resolution and sell the property.
is there a second? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Well, due to the nature of the monetary factor, I'd have to say yes.
Okay, Mr. Hips?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfskill? Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
And I vote nay. So, the yeas have it. Motion is carried. Okay, so now we're to 5A. Sheriff. Open up our public hearing. Sheriff Richardson.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I'm coming back to follow up on a topic I brought up the last time I was up here on a grant that we applied for. If y'all can remember back, the Public Safety Committee kind of turned down all our communications projects with the radio systems and everything to save the county a lot of money. So I've been doing some digging to try to fund this on our own. Unfortunately, it's going to take some help from the county. So what I found was a communications grant that we put in for, but it's a 25% match grant. So we're going to get all our portables paid for and a couple mobiles as well. The total grant is it's going to be $89,368, but it would cost the county $22,342. I think y'all each have a copy of this. It's the highlighted part is what the county would have to cover. And it's itemized out, but if you can read it, it's 32 portables and 5 mobiles.
Do you know what the original quote on that was
Which part?
in the previous study, radio study?
You talking about from each vendor? I don't remember, to be honest with you.
It was much more,
Oh, yeah, it was
a whole lot more.
whole lot more, yes, but this is only going to cost us a fraction of what it would cost. We had to pay for each one of them. They cut us a tremendous break because we were having to go with the new company, so we're getting, and I can bring an itemized list, but it's about 85% off of what the retail price is for them.
So is this just for the sheriff's department?
This only for the sheriff's department.
Okay, so the other,
So when Mr. Hips and Mr. Hinkle probably remember when the Public Safety Committee, the sheriff's office is really the only people that need the radios. Our radios are on their last leg. At any point, they could probably all go out. And the other problem is we're on a single site. So lightning hits the tower. We don't have any radio communication right now. We have a cell phone. That's it. These portables have the LTE coverage. We wouldn't use it. It's the only vendor that had it where you didn't have to pay a monthly fee. It's basically what they would consider what they call a bucket of minutes. So we had to cut the LTE on to use it. We would then have those minutes to use, but we wouldn't burn them and we don't pay a monthly fee for it. It's just a one-time thing. So that's not covered in here. The LTE is on there. I won't turn it on until we need it. So that's the biggest factor driving where we're going with these as well with this single site we have right now.
So Sheriff Richardson, is that a guarantee that you would get the grant?
Yeah, as long as the county pays 25%.
Okay, thank
Yep. We've already been awarded the grant, but it's got to be a match.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say something. Well, let's see, who was on this committee other than Mr. Hips? Was you on there?
Public safety.
Public, yeah. This monetary factor of $22,000, and I stand to be corrected, is a drop in the bucket to what it was going to cost us. That's what I thought.
If I remember correctly, it's probably about 11 million total over 15 years.
Yeah.
So Sheriff Richardson, how long will this system be, you think you could utilize it?
Well, I'm hoping it's a 10, 12-year past my retirement date. I hope it's going to get us there. This is only so we still got to, get some other things coming in. For what this is just the initial factor. This communications grant came out. It's paying for all the portables for all the deputies, which is their handheld device. So that's going to be brand new. It's 2-year warranties on each one. Going over it with George. George thinks it's a great idea as well. And even though it's a 2-year warranty, I would hope they'd last 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
That's a hope, who knows, but that's what the hope is.
Any more comments, questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me say this, one last thing. It's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer.
So would you like to make well, we have to close the hearing first. Well, or you want to comment? Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to commend the sheriff for all it. I know the hours he put on securing this grant. He did a lot of work on his own time
Yes.
to get 80 grand. to state and county.
Any other comments
Just that,
before we close?
Yeah, we're paying for it out of, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, paying for it out of,
I can find 22,000 out of operating reserve.
okay.
And it's already been appropriated, so no new appropriation is needed.
So we'll close this public hearing.
I make a motion that,
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we go ahead with the sheriff's request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Hips?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfskill? Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Sheriff.
I got one other thing.
Okay.
So the circuit court judges came to me and asked us to redo our camera systems within the courthouse. They are outdated, in which they are. They're severely outdated. I've gotten 2 quotes. I'm not sure if y'all have got the quotes yet or not. I'll pass them around to give them to you.
Where's Jeff? Big Range?
Barons or something.
Thank you.
So as Mr. Wolfskill is passing those around for me, I've got 2 quotes here. The first one is from M&M Electronics.
Yeah.
And what you'll see is 2 quotes. One is for the courthouse and one is for the sheriff's office, which both of these quotes consider. Obviously, you'll see one is substantially higher than the other, which the first one we had got from APV is, approximately $100,000 for just the courthouse and a couple in the sheriff's office. M&M broke it down in 2 quotes for me. For the courthouse, the quote is $48,880. And then there was a second quote for the sheriff's office for $21,680. So with the request of the circuit court judge, I put this together to try to come to the board to get an agreement to this, to put new cameras in. This has been in our capital improvement suggestions and asking for the past at least 4 years while I was under Sheriff Simpson, I remember. And it could have been before that, I'm not sure, under Sheriff Letterman. However, these things need to be updated. There's, unfortunately, today's events of things that's going on. There's things happening in our parking lot all the time, and we don't have any vision of the entire parking lot whatsoever. This would give us vision of the entire parking lot, not only in the courthouse parking lot, but in the parking lot down at the sheriff's office and also on the magistrate's side and the back side of the county administrator's building. On top of everything inside of the courthouse, including our circuit court clerk's office and her records department, which at this point does not cover all the records. So if somebody walked out, it's probably not the proper thing to say on this, so everybody knows, but if you grab a record right now and walk out with it, the only thing we have is the hopes that our deputies at the front desk are going to catch them before they get out and know that they have them in them. So we're in dire need of this. It's way over time for it. And I have to state that, the second court judge has requested it. And we all know what that means.
Any comments, questions?
Do you have any other papers?
Yes, a good one, though. The next one's a good one. Any questions about it? I've also run this by Ace, or IT guy, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ace, but you agree with this?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to speak in favor if y'all need it, but.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
All right, and then the last thing I just want to comment on is we do have our trash pickup up and running. It's been 4 years since we've been able to activate it, but it is up and running now. If y'all get any complaints about trash, just send them my way. We'll get to it as soon as possible. I can't say it's going to be the next day, but we will get to it as soon as we can.
I got one for you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
I figured that's probably the biggest complaints I've
Yeah.
had so far is trash. So just email me or call me, whichever.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
So, Ms. Adams, where would we find the money to comply with the judge?
Let me work on that.
That you work on? Okay.
So I guess there's a motion in order to approve the project, and then we'll bring it back for the appropriation of the money.
I make a motion to approve the order, put Adams on the spot to dig in and find the money.
So this require a roll call vote, or not at this point?
Not at this point.
Because we're not appropriating any money.
That's
yet.
right.
Okay.
Also, you're adopting both proposals for the sheriff's department and the courthouse project?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So that is a
So
roll call.
that is a roll call vote, correct? Because we're approving the money for
Yeah, but you're not
radios.
appropriating any. It doesn't hurt to do a roll call. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to be safe. Kelly?
It never hurts to do it.
Okay, never. Okay. So, someone wants to make a motion?
I thought you did.
Yeah, I did
No,
You did make the motion, and who's second?
go ahead.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second that we, I want to make sure I understand, what are we,
Essentially,
Adopting both projects that the sheriff presented for the sheriff's department and the courthouse camera system.
okay. This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter? Mr. Hibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfskill?
Yes.
Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion carried.
It looks like it's a total of $70,560, both projects,
70.
70.
Okay, public hearing number 6, Southside Virginia Alcohol Safety Action Program. At the March 18, 2024 and April 15, 2024 meetings, the board tabled the appointment of a representative to serve a 3-year term on the Southside Virginia Alcohol Safety Action Policy Board. Is anyone here to speak?
Does anyone, Mr. Chairman, does any board member have anyone? Well, I tell you what we can do, I think. Who is always the one that we can count on to do things? And that would be none other than Ms. Adams.
Okay.
Oh,
To take out Ms. Adams' point, I'll volunteer for it if y'all need me to.
Yay.
Y'all have helped me out today, so I'd be grateful to take it if y'all need me to.
okay.
Sure my wife wouldn't appreciate that.
Okay,
That's great.
all right. Thank you, Sheriff.
That's what it takes. We'll do that every time.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we appoint the sheriff to the Southside Virginia Alcohol Safety Action
Is there a
Program.
second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Chairman Hinkle. Okay. So, public hearing number 7, Cortland Festival Park Board of Directors appointment. Mr. Taylor Bradshaw has submitted her resignation from the Cortland Festival Park Board of Directors as she's moved out of the area. The Cortland Festival Park Board of Directors has submitted a recommendation to appoint Mr. Cody W. Drinker to the Cortland Festival Park Board of Directors. Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mr. Cody Drinker to the Cortland Festival Park.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and second. Question? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. The consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of all bills, minutes, supplemental appropriation, line item transfer, and fund transfers. Any item on the consent agenda shall be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member prior to the vote on the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be considered by the board individually in the order in which they were removed from the consent agenda immediately following consideration of the consent agenda. Are there any items?
You might.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
got one question,
yes, sir.
and the sheriff asked for this.
It's probably less than the deductible. It's probably less than the deductible.
You think? Sheriff, on one of the items on reimbursement from Sandroff Auto Center for repair damage was not approved, $105.
So what happened was they wrote a check for too much to Sandroff, and they basically if I'm correct in the one I'm thinking of, it was a push bumper from an accident, and Sandroff was not allowed to put the push bumper on, so we had to reappropriate that money to Patriot Supply, who's going to put the push bar on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any question, discussion? This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Hibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfskill? Chairman Hinkle?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carried. Okay, attorney's report.
I don't have anything for you tonight.
Thank you. Administrator's report.
You've got a copy of my report before you. If you have any questions, you can ask those at this time. Also notate there's a handout from Sands Anderson that wasn't included in the board book. And basically, that's a tax sale that's upcoming in June. And also, the email that I forwarded to you from Dr. Bennett included the per pupil expenditure. So what I did was a comparison of all the counties in Region 8 so that you could see the total budget, state, local, and the other data that goes along with that report.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. Okay, so, yes.
I was gonna ask her, did she have time to breathe?
Okay. Any questions on the Robert E. Lee Soil Water Conservation District minute meetings? Supervisors' concerns? Mr. Carter?
None, sir.
Mr. Hibbs?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, ma'am. Your
Ms. Adams is her name,
no, this one
Yeah.
in the blue and white?
Ms. Adams.
Oh, wow. Miss Adams, I'm sorry that your sister left early. I was going to explain myself. I take the comments that you made very seriously, the safety concern comments, and what we were voting on tonight was the sale of the property. And so we have voted on that. However, that's not an approval of any development or project or anything that hasn't, should that take place, there's an entire process and all of those things for that. So I am relying on Johnny and VDOT and even our planning commission, before that would get to us, to address those concerns that you have. And if, I'm not going to approve an unsafe project. And so I'm just explaining my rationale, because we're doing things things in stages and process. And I just want you to understand the direction that I'm coming from and why, I'm making that decision. But I will not approve a project that is not satisfactory, vetted for safety.
I was just thinking, and I'm not used to doing this, but anyway, I just got the impression that, although this sounded, that they're getting, not checking with the safety before
Yeah.
going through.
Right, and the process, sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is irregular, to speak back and forth, so there's a process for everything. And VDOT and our zoning officer and the process approves or denies applications as they come in. Putting something through VDOT before there is a plan is not the process. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hibbs. Mr. Whipskill?
No, not this much.
Okay. Mr. Hinkle?
No comments or
We didn't hear you. Could you repeat?
I guess I would like to say that I agree with what Mr. Hipp said. I also want to say that, to me, if the county has property that has no future value that we can see in it to us as a county, we're not being good stewards if we have the opportunity to put that back on the tax roll and so that it's usable rather than just sitting there for I don't know how long as a, quote, non-asset to the county. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Hinkle. I don't have a concern, but I do have a comment. It has been a distinct honor for me to sit in Chairman Hinkle's seat today, and I can't sit here without thinking about the many African Americans who never got that opportunity. And some people come to my mind. One of the people that I've been thinking about today as I prepared was R.Q. Loing. Reverend R.Q. Loing was a shaker of this community, working for racial reconciliation, a tireless warrior. when Chairman Franklin of this board, when Reverend R.Q. Loyne passed away, he ordered all the flags to be flown at half-staff. And then I have to mention Miss Mozella Jordan Price, who worked tirelessly for good, positive race relations here in Appomattox. She was a director of Negro education here from 1919 to 1963. And she never got this opportunity. And also the extension agent, Mr. James, who worked tirelessly to benefit both the white and black communities here. And I just wanted to mention those names. I think I'll throw one more out, Lacey Webb. Just wonderful people who never got that opportunity. So I feel very honored to be on this board, and I wanted to remember some of these people. I'm a history buff. Thank you very much. Okay, so at this time, we will entertain a motion to go into closed session. And at the end of the closed session, we will reconvene again. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Your mic's off, too.
There we go. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Appomattox County desires to discuss in a closed meeting the following matters: consultation with legal counsel pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, specifically regarding the regional landfill. Consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel concerning certain contract provisions. Whereas pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A7 and A8 of the Code of Virginia, such discussions may occur at a closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Appomattox County does hereby authorize discussion of the aforestated matters in a closed meeting. I just need that in a motion.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Okay, been properly moved and seconded. We go into closed session. And again, we will return after closed session, and the meeting will be open again. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to invite Mr. Rourke into closed session also.
All in favor of going into closed session, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
Now we going in. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Stay in here, I
Because
guess.
he's on the phone.